Hey, what's up? What's up to all of you great spirits out there, great thinkers out there, ambitious people out there, to the whole entire Voice of the Kingdom family. What's up to you? This is King Shatik. Just making this video while I'm driving. Probably not the safest thing to do, right? Don't do this at home or don't do this while out driving. It's not the safest thing to do, but I did get an inkling to do this video and release this message with you, right? To share this message with you. Whenever I get that nudge to share a message with you, it's so hard for me to put it off until later, right? Just because I'm just a big believer of if you have an emotional connection to the message you want to share with the world, you should do it in the moment that you're feeling that emotion, right? And the moment that you're feeling that message, and you're passionate about that message, you know? So we're just, in this video, you see that we're just 3 videos in, right? On my YouTube channel, if you're watching this video on my YouTube channel, on my Voice of the Kingdom channel, you'll see that we're just 3 videos in. So the message and the mission is still the same, right? What we're doing here on the Voice of the Kingdom, once you become a voice in the kingdom, basically what the job and our duty is to help people reach their higher self. In the simultaneously, while we're helping others reach their higher self, we're helping ourselves reach our higher self, because I can't help the next person or my brother or my sister reach their higher self if I haven't quite made progress in that, you know, whether that's spiritually, financially, mentally, right? Like, in order to reach your higher self, it normally takes you having to go through something, right? And it normally will take you having to go through some type of pain, because the enemy, if you will, knows that the pain is what strengthens you, right? The enemy knows that overcoming struggle and overcoming triumph is what makes you better than you were before. And although struggle and pain, a lot of times when we're going through stuff in our lives, we look at that as a reason sometimes to give up. We look at that as a reason sometimes to throw in the towel, right? Get discouraged. We look at that as a reason sometimes as to mean that it's not for us. And sometimes, yeah, the universe is telling us, yeah, it's not for us. If something is too hard, or if it's hurting you and it's painful, physical on the body, and it's really draining you, or it's, you know, it's causing you to get bad results in life, yeah, sometimes there are times when you're on a path that may not be conducive to what you're trying to accomplish, or you may not be on a path that is meant for you, right? And meant for what you're here to achieve. So I want you to understand there's a difference, right? There's a difference. But even when you're trying to achieve your higher self, there's some struggle with that, right? There's some pain in that. There's some challenges in that. There's some setbacks in that. There's some, you know, because whenever you're growing to your higher self, there's going to be growing pains. You're going to probably be thinking about thoughts you normally never used to think about. You're going to probably be reacting in ways you never normally. Somebody's backing up here and they're not even really looking at me. This is why it's not safe to do a video while driving, but it's cool, right? So sometimes the transition from where we are to where we want to be, to the higher level of consciousness, higher level of a spiritual connection to the Father, to achieve that, you got to understand that it's not going to be easy. And it's okay if it's not easy, because that process, kind of like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, it takes work, right? And even, let's use that as an example. And this is going to go, this video is going to segue into a specific Bible story as well. So make sure to stay tuned until I get to that part to finish off the message, so that you can apply the message and the teachings and whatever conclusion we can draw from this story today, you can apply it to your life right away to get better results, to achieve more, to be better in life, and just live a very high quality of life. So yeah, I want you to know, when you're transforming, just like a caterpillar in a cocoon, the caterpillar goes through weeks of, basically, it gets to a point where it's beating its little wings for weeks on the side of the cocoon, and it's doing that for weeks on end. And in that process of them, basically struggling to get out of the cocoon, basically fighting to get out of the cocoon, their wings strengthen. the caterpillar's wings strengthen, it becomes stronger. So the 8-week period of struggle they have to go through that in order to actually achieve becoming a butterfly. So they must get their wings strong enough to beat the cocoon to the point where the cocoon breaks, and then when the cocoon breaks, they fly into the world as a free and independent butterfly. And if you don't allow that caterpillar to beat its wings on the inside of the cocoon, that caterpillar will never gain the strength that they need to become a butterfly and to fly on its own. So it will basically die if it doesn't go through that struggle period, if you will. So for the first thing, I challenge you to think about in what ways do we come against struggle that may make us a better person? How may you be coming against a journey that may be tough, challenging, but it's still going to pull out the greatness in you, still going to pull out the best in you? Sometimes we're in journeys that's pulling out the best in us, and because we're experiencing a little bit of an uncomfortable situation, or because we're experiencing a feeling that we never normally experience, or because, things aren't being spoon-fed to us, sometimes we get discouraged by that, and we end up going back to something that's easier. But the thing that's easier may not always be what we need to accomplish to accomplish our higher self, right? So that's very powerful to think about, right? That's a very profound thing to think about in life. I think a lot of times we're not realizing that our trials and tribulations happen for us and not to us. And I think that just a simple change in perspective on how you look at things that happen to you in life, I think can empower you to be better in other areas of your life, because you'll start to realize that, look, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just going through the motions. I'm going through my process, and I'm making mistakes, and I'm making mistakes fast, because the faster you can make mistakes, the faster you can learn, and the faster you can grow. I think one of the messed up things about school and just growing up as a kid, I remember making mistakes and, getting in trouble for those mistakes. And, this is all kids that have been through this at some point. Making a mistake, you get in trouble for the mistake. So now in your mind, subconsciously, you start to think that all mistakes are bad. And you start to think, I should go through life never making mistakes. So when you get to becoming an adult, you're playing small, right? You're going at life with limited potential. You're going at life not being your higher self, not being your true, powerful, your full potential, not going for your full potential. And that's because subconsciously you've been programmed to be afraid to make mistakes, when really and truly the making of the mistake is the part that's going to make you learn something, is the part that's going to allow you to grow, that is the part that's going to allow you to become a professional. The making the mistake part is the part that's going to allow you to become an expert. But to be honest, I recommend making mistakes quick, make them fast, and you'll reach your higher self. I want you to think for a second also, right? Think about the story of Moses, right? A very popular biblical story, the story of Moses. And maybe this is a little different, but there's still a message here, right? Because there's still voice of the kingdom. So Moses was born, and I think it was Pharaoh. I believe it was Pharaoh was the king at the time of the kingdom. Pharaoh was going around getting babies killed because basically he knew that there would be a prophet born soon. A prophet that's going to send a message to the people that wouldn't be good for Pharaoh, right? It wouldn't be good for his power, his regime, and stuff like that. And the people will learn the truth. And Pharaoh didn't want that. So Pharaoh was killing off a whole lot of babies. And Moses' mother ended up being afraid of that, being afraid that, Pharaoh would come and kill her baby, which is Moses. So she placed Moses in a river. And lo and behold, Moses as a baby survived being in the river, right? And then Moses was discovered. So, number one, Moses had a calling on his life from a baby. And a lot of times we have callings on our lives from before we're even here, and we don't even realize it. And then we get here, and then we're like, all right, why do I naturally have these desires? Why do I naturally want to accomplish this and that? Why am I so into this? Why do I have this vision in my head that's been just like nagging me, and it won't leave me alone? a lot of times it's because the Father has placed a calling and a vision in your heart that you can't really explain to somebody else because it's not their calling, it's not their vision. So what was Moses' calling was a calling that was already instilled before he was actually here, and Pharaoh knew that. So Pharaoh was like killing off all of these babies, basically trying to end Moses' life, but Moses ends up miraculously surviving. Why is that? Because I want you to know something. I want you to know that, well, number one, when God puts a calling on your life, that's a beautiful thing. And the reason why it's such a beautiful thing, when the Father puts a calling on your life, that's better than any other calling that any man, any woman can put on your life, is because when God puts a calling on your life, you can't die until that calling is fulfilled, right? You can't go bye-bye, you can't check out of the world until that calling is fulfilled, and when you came here to do what you're supposed to do. So Moses was able to live because God covered him and God protected him because he had such a massive calling over his life. And then, of course, you know, many years go by and Moses actually gets old. He gets very old before he actually discovers, you know, what he's supposed to do, and before he actually embarks on his actual calling. He gets old and stuff like that. But that's another thing we can talk about. The next interpretation I have is that sometimes, you know, be careful in your life of negative people. Be careful in your life of jealous and envious people. And I don't want you to think that just because you see somebody else who may have more than you, they may have more, like more possessions, maybe they seem more accomplished than you, maybe they seem more successful to you. Don't think that just because a person has all that stuff that it's impossible for them to hate on you, or it's impossible for them to envy you. Oftentimes it could be people who have a lot more things than you who envy and hate you because the things that you have, they don't have, and those are things that money probably can't buy. Things like family, things like love, things like genuine friends, things like, you know, things like that. Things about like the way people gravitate towards you, the way people treat you, whatever. So I want you to keep in mind of how, like, you know, Moses had this calling over his life, and the enemy wanted to end him, wanted to finish him before he can even get started on that calling. So I want you to realize, also interpret and realize how the enemy works. The enemy is always like steps ahead, right? So you got to be ahead. So when you have this calling over your life, I want you to be wary of people who are trying to discourage you. Be wary of people who are trying to talk you out of it. Be wary of people who are trying to suck you back into who you used to be. Beware of people who are trying to basically make you fall in line with certain patterns that no longer are good for your life, right? Or make you go back to being an addict, or trying to make you go back to doing something that you didn't get good results in, right? And be wary of people who are trying to talk you out of your dream, out of your vision, right? And that's one of the main things that the Voice of the Kingdom here is all about. It's all about turning your vision from a dream into a reality and knowing that it's possible for you. You know, because there's a lot of people out there who, number one, who may not even have a dream anymore. They may not even have a vision anymore. They may not have anything that they're trying to do to impact the world in a positive way. And just for that sole reason alone, they might not like you for that sole reason. So their job now is to try to discourage you, try to tear you down, try to pull you down, try to get you to think negatively, right? Try to basically, you know, put some sugar in your gas tank or something like that, right? So these people's job is to be negative, to deter you from accomplishing your dream and your vision. And the thing about it is, just like Moses, just like Pharaoh saw greatness in Moses before Moses was even an adult, there are people out there who see greatness in you. There are people out there who see your personality. There are people out there who see your gifts. There are people out there who see your talents, and they know your gifts. They know your talents are great. They know your talents can help people. They know your gifts is going to do something fascinating in this world. So they're going to start to get into your ear. They may start to get into your ear to try to talk you off course or discourage you. So you got to know that, look, be like Moses and hold on tight to your vision and your calling. You know what I'm saying? Hold on tight to your vision and your calling, and be patient even if it's not happening right away. It took Moses, I think he was about 80 years old before he started actually, you know, taking action on what he was called to do here. So that's another thing, right? There's no exact timing on what you're called to do, when it's supposed to happen and when it's supposed to take off, or when it's supposed to start working in your favor. Like, timing is everything, and the Father's time is the best time, right? The Father's time is the best time. So you may be in a situation right now in your life where you may be a little impatient. You know, you may have been a little antsy and a little anxious. Why God? Why is this not happening for me yet? Why is that not happening for me yet? Well, just stay still. Maybe there's some things in the process that's taking a little longer because there's some type of growth, maybe mentally, maybe spiritually, that you have to experience first in order for your calling to make sense to start working, right? So when you're in your process, just like how a caterpillar is trying to become a butterfly, in that process, the caterpillar has to beat its wings for a few weeks to get the wings stronger. You may be in a phase on your path and on your journey to your vision where you're not strong enough or prepared enough to take on what's about to happen, to take on the greatness that's about to happen in your life. And you don't want to be in a situation where you actually get your opportunity, but you can't do anything about it, or you're not prepared for it, or you're not strong enough for it. So I think what the Father is doing in your life is basically making you be patient, because you're in a part in the process of your process where you need a little more strength in a certain area, or you need a little more experience in a certain area, or you need a little more, accurate knowledge in a certain area before you can really step into your power on your calling. So there's some things we can learn from today's talk, right? From today's message today in this video. There's a couple things. Number one, understand that there's people out there who see greatness in you a lot of times, even when you can't see it in yourself. You know, a lot of times there's powers within you that you can't see, but somebody else can see it, and they may rush to discourage you from that power, or rush to discourage you from what you're here to do. And that's going to mess up your entire life, because if you're not on the journey of your purpose, or whatever it is you feel is right in your heart, well, then you're not really on a journey at all, because that's going to be the journey that's going to grow you to become your higher self anyway, right? So that's number one. Number two is the story of Moses, right? We can learn that through the story of Moses, we can learn patience. And we can learn that once God has a calling over your life, he protects you through the storm. He protects you through the desert. He protects you because him protecting you, he knows he has to protect you to allow you to do what he's called you to do, right? So that's another thing we can learn from the story of Moses, right? So that was just what I want to share with you for today. So just a little bit about Voice of the Kingdom, right, before I go. Voice of the Kingdom is going to grow exponentially. It's going to grow at a fast rate. And basically all we're really looking for is for voices. Whoever wants to be who wants to become a voice in the kingdom. Now, just being a voice, do you have to do anything crazy or outlandish or extravagant? No, you don't have to. The only duty is just to spread God's word. That's the only duty, is to spread God's word. But here's the main thing with the Voice of the Kingdom, what we're about. What we're about is not just spreading God's word, because obviously God's word has been spreaded for many years, for ages. You got the Bible, which is a very ancient text, very powerful, stuff like that. But the Voice of the Kingdom, what sets us apart is that, number one, we accept any and all religions can be a part of it. It doesn't matter what religion you're a part of. It doesn't matter what you believe in, what book you read, the Torah, Quran, Bible, none of that stuff matters. Even if you don't have a relationship with God at all, and you would like to have a relationship with the Father, or you think there's a God there and you're just trying to get that connection there stronger, fine. That's perfectly fine. We don't discriminate against anybody. But the Voice of the Kingdom, what we're really about is spreading the message to the world in a way where people can actually use the message and apply the message now in their life, right? Apply the message, well, first get the message in a way that's understood, so that people can interpret it. I know a lot of people who, they left the church, and they left, some type of spiritual connection with God or whatever. They left, their beliefs because certain texts and certain scriptures, they can't interpret it to understand how it's powerful for their life. They weren't able to interpret it to understand how to use it for their actual everyday life. They would look at it as, oh, that's just a biblical story. It's just a story in the Bible. Oh, whenever I read it, it's cool, I'm motivated, but it doesn't change anything about my life. That's not really the purpose of the Bible, right? The Bible is actually supposed to be applied. It's supposed to be obeyed, because once it's applied and obeyed, then you're on your path to righteousness. And that's really the vision, is to help people to become, we want to do away with self-esteem. We want to do away with depression. We want to do away with suicidal thoughts. We want to do away with any thought that's negative, any thought that doesn't allow the light to shine within us, right? That's what reaching your higher self is about. So, and it's all of us are on the same journey together, right? Which is another beautiful thing. So that's the main thing with the Voice of the Kingdom. And we'll continue to do YouTube videos speaking the message. We'll continue to do even blog posts speaking the message. We're going to launch a website, all that stuff, and launch, different things that's going to help people. It's going to help people in a massive, massive, massive way, because I have a dream. I have a dream to be the reason why most people in the world have reached their higher self, right? And it's a dream that basically never ends. It never ever ends. The vision never can be fully accomplished, because there will always be people born. There will always be new people coming to the earth. And I believe at the end of the day, first, we're about self-preservation, but then next, we're all about reaching our higher self and our higher potential, right? So if that makes sense to you and you want to be a part of the Voice of the Kingdom, and that's something that you would want to be a part of and grow with, and you want to build with us, then please subscribe to my channel. Like, comment, share this video, right? Like this video, comment on this video, and share it with a friend if you thought this video had a powerful message in it. And also check out the link in the description below. Check out the link in the description below to learn more. And I'm going to see you at the top. This is Jonathan Belcher. Sorry. This is King Shatik, right? I'm thinking about my other channel, right? I have like another alias, but that alias is for my my YouTube channel having to do with predominantly business, right? It's my other YouTube channel, which is John Space Belcher Station, is only about business. It's not about the spiritual stuff. It's not about this biblical teachings and religion and stuff like that. It has some personal development in it, but it's mainly focused at business. But like I said, if you know my story, I've always had a calling over my life to share a message in this type of setting, and with this type of message with more people in the world. So this video, like I said, King Shatik, right? Voice of the Kingdom. Call me King Shatik, and you can also follow me on Instagram at _SHATIQUE. Hit me up. Let's talk. I'll see you on the beaches of the world. Peace out.